Shout out VCR Now. Good friends over there. We love VCR Now.
We do love VCR Now.
All right, Pickle. Let's talk about some coaching news. We have had quite a few coaching changes happen across college, across high school, that we just haven't had the chance to talk about because we've been talking a lot of basketball. But now that March is over, let's dive right in to some coaching changes. We'll start off in the college ranks here. Former Texas A&M Commerce head coach David Bailiff was hired by G.J. Kinney and Texas State to be a special assistant. Bailiff previously served as head coach of Texas State from 2004 to 2006 and was a member of the Lone Star Conference Championship team in 1980. He then took the head coaching job at Rice and served from 2008 to 2013. But before becoming the head coach at Texas A&M Commerce. Kinney put out a statement actually on this about Coach Bailiff and said he's a Bobcat through and through. From his time as a player to serving as an assistant coach to being a championship-winning head coach, he is a great addition to the staff over there. He will, per Texas State, Bailiff will assist in advising Kinney, providing oversight in alumni affairs, community relations, high school relations, and football operations. So he's got a pretty big job over there at Texas State. And I think it's just really cool that he gets to come back to where he probably learned all of his coaching techniques. I mean, he was a player over there too. So that's really cool that he gets to kind of be under a really fantastic guy in Coach Kinney and help out that program. Like, you know, give back to that program like they gave to him.
Oh, yeah. No, this is Bailiff. Coach David Bailiff is one, I mean, obviously a great friend of Dave Campbell, all of us here at Dave Campbell Texas Football. So we personally are very excited for him and his family to get to head back down there to San Marcos. But this was a fantastic hire by G.J. Kinney for a lot of different reasons. One, Bailiff is a fantastic coach. I don't think that, I mean, he led Rice to the best years that they've ever had as a program. Then he turns around and Commerce has been competing at an unbelievably high level for so long, all the way down deep into the playoffs and all that. So this was just a great move from a football coaching perspective, but I think even more than that, Bailiff is a really well-known face and commodity around Texas. Yeah. I think that G.J. Kinney is obviously a lot younger of a head coach than what we've seen throughout a lot of the programs. And so I think that anytime you can bring in someone that has such good relationships throughout the state of Texas, whether that be with high school coaches or administrators or anything like that, he was a really good gift. We see that of like Joey McGuire and Kenny Perry, you know, like this is kind of one of those things, a little bit older of a guy that has those Texas connections just like GJ does. You've seen what success that Texas Tech has had. GJ is definitely mirroring that after what Texas Tech is doing. Yes. And it's like, all right, here, like this is another great addition to that.
Yes, you're absolutely correct there. And that just kind of shows that how much of a, not only a good coach he is, but how good of a person he is too. You know?
Big fan of Bailiff.
Big fan of Bailiff. Speaking of the Lions, Texas A&M Commerce has named Jim Curry the Director of Athletics following a 10-month search. Curry was previously at Florida State University as the Senior Associate Athletics Director since 2016 and oversaw the football, women's basketball, women's soccer, and men's and women's tennis programs. He brings over 17 years of experience in Division I athletics with stints at Coastal Carolina and Maryland before arriving in Tallahassee. According to sources, the Lions' interim director of athletics, Eric Curlman, is expected to actually remain a member of the athletic department's executive leadership program, so he won't be going anywhere. Curry will lead the Lions' athletic department in the first... Curry will lead a Lions athletics department in its first year of transitioning to NCAA Division I and will likely play a role in the Lions' search for their new women's basketball head coach because their former head women's basketball coach is now at North Texas. So he will play an instrumental part in finding that new coach over there.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah, they had been, I mean, we had when when Commerce announced,
it's one of those days.
Think about where I was going here. When Commerce announced that they were going Division I, we actually had Tim McMurray, the then current AD, it come into the studio that exact same week to not necessarily make the announcement, but like have his first public appearance talking about it. Definitely wishing McMurray a good time. He's working with some company down in the Hill Country. Like he's still involved in athletics, but it's not in a college athletic standpoint. But this is a big move for Commerce. We're really excited to see what they bring to the table. That's a program that has, I mean, all of their programs had been doing good for a really long time. And so anytime that you can bring in someone that has had that much high level experience at a legitimate nationally known D1 college, that's huge for them. And it's a huge opportunity for him to get to step in the athletic director role. That felt like a good fit for everybody. But I think that him being in the inner workings of high-level D1 programs for so long will pay huge dividends moving into their first year as a D1 program.
Right. I think so, too. I think that was the right hire to do that as well. So, okay, enough college. Let's switch over to the high school ranks, starting with former TCU defensive lineman Cody Moore has been promoted to head coach at Round Rock High School. He steps in to replace the highly successful head coach in Jeff Cheatman, who was promoted to Round Rock ISD athletic director earlier back in March. Moore, only 37 years old, spent the past 4 seasons as the Dragons defensive coordinator, takes over a squad that finished with a 9-2 record overall last season. I think expectations are really, really high for this Round Rock squad. I think Cheatman really took it to the next level over there, and I think that expectations are only going up from here with Moore at the helm there.
Oh, yeah, and we're getting to that point of the year almost in college or in high school that if a head coach is leaving, you are likely going to see people get promoted.
Right.
It's a quick turnaround for a lot of programs. A program like Round Rock that is bigger and can opt into doing spring ball, that's all starting. So he's been spectacular for them down there. Round Rock was doing a good job. Chapman did a good job. I think that this was a good move for them.
Agreed. Moving on, former Kentucky Wildcats team captain Irvin Flowers named the athletic director and head football coach down there at Taylor High School.
The Ducks.
Flowers replaces Brandon Houston, who moved to a new role within Taylor ISD after leading the Ducks for 2 seasons. A native of Temple, Flowers played at the University of Kentucky, where he was a 3-year starter and also a team captain. He has previously coached at Rosebud Lutt, a middle school in Temple ISD, Belton before becoming the defensive coordinator at Taylor. And he takes over a program that has been on the come up since the past few seasons with Houston at the helm. So that's a really good, another one that's promoting from within. So that should be a good move by the Ducks.
No, I like it. I think that Taylor is a tough job. Taylor has always been a tough job. You're kind of on the outskirts of the greater Austin area to where a lot of those it's a one-horse town, but it's still really big. And so it's been a difficult job in recent years, and Coach Houston really did a good job of getting that program where it needed to be. They made the playoffs for the first time in years last year under him. We're very excited for him taking a new role. He's another good friend of Dave Campbell's. There's no denying that. But I think that when you start to try and convince someone to take over a program like that has been struggling and all of that, when they're taking over after they were just watch what was working.
Right.
He's going to know exactly how they got from point A of winning 1 to 2 games a year to making it to the playoffs last year. They had to fight their way through a crazy rain delay to even get to that opportunity. So it was not an easy path to get them there. But I think that's going to be the thing that I have no idea who just walked into our office. I think that will be the thing that will be huge for him is that he's seen what has worked and what hasn't worked to get them to that point and can just literally step in and continue it. So.
Right. Well, and I think too, like, I don't know how much this plays into it, but I like that he was a team captain for a very successful Division I FBS football program. So I think that says a lot about his character and probably his commitment to
his leadership.
Exactly, to creating a much better program. And,
I think
leading them to
any
success.
Coach that names the team captain, like the first words out of most of the time, the team captain might. Usually, yes, a quarterback is on there, but that's because the quarterback is forced into being a leader of the team. That's almost like it's your birth-given right, you know? But that being said, you see so many people that are team captains that barely ever step out on the field, and they're like, they're there because of their leadership. So it's a very notable, it was a long time ago, but that doesn't just, you don't graduate and that leaves you.
No,
you know?
Exactly. This one is odd. Not odd, but this one is really cool. Odd is probably the wrong adjective to describe it, but it's very cool. From the MLB to Texas high school football, Colleyville Covenant hires former American League All-Star Vernon Wells as its next head football coach. Wells has been a mainstay at Colleyville Covenant Academy for more than a decade, coaching the baseball team and spending the last 6 seasons as the Cougars' associate head football coach under former head coach Phil Tao. During that 6-year span on the football staff, the Cougars won a pair of TAPS Division III state championships and made 2 other semifinal appearances. Wells played 15 seasons in the MLB, a dozen of which came with the Toronto Blue Jays, where he ranks 2nd in franchise history with 1,529 hits.
He was like a legitimate, unbelievable baseball player.
He's a legitimate baseball player.
Yeah.
Right. He's a product of Arlington Bowie. He was a standout wide receiver, and he signed to play both football and baseball at the University of Texas before turning pro after being taken 5th overall in 1997 in the MLB draft. Now he takes over a program that has hopes of making it back to state. They actually won state back in 2020, I believe. That was their 3rd state title. So they're looking for their 4th, and maybe this MLB star can take them there. What a crazy headline. I saw that. I think Tepper sent that in our Slack and was like, I'm going to do a story about this. And I was like, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, no, I think, and the funny thing that Tepper and I talked about this on TFT when we were running through headlines the other day, but the thing that stuck out to me the most was the fact that he played baseball, or he was going to be on scholarship to play baseball and football at the University of Texas. Like, now, that was a different time. And then he said, now I'm going to go play in the MLB, which makes perfect sense, as he should.
Right.
But think about now UT extending a scholarship for someone to go play football and baseball. It wouldn't happen because of the level, but he was that good.
Yeah, that's just insane to me. To be that athletic in 2 different sports, making it at that insanely high of a level. I mean, he could have done both. That's just crazy to me. But anyways, that's a really, really cool move by Colleyville Covenant Academy over there in Colleyville, just 25 minutes away. All right, last one up. And this one's, I'd probably say even crazier. I don't know. We'll see what you think.
From a normie,
a Texas high school football perspective, this one's kind of crazy. If you're a nerd.
Are like... I would say that the nerds would probably get it more than the non-nerds, to be honest with you. This is one of those that, like, looking in and seeing what you're about to say is like, why would you do that?
I'm a nerd, so I think it's pretty weird. Not weird, cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, Humble High School head coach Marcus Schultz has been named the next head football coach at Ponder High School. Schultz is making the move from a 6A program to a 3A program. Head coaching move. Because I feel like a lot of the times you see that, and, a coach will be the running backs coach at
Denton Guyer,
and then they'll get the head coaching job at
Or like Zach Birdwell literally just went from Lubbock Coronado as the OC to the head coach at Tioga, which is a 2A school.
Right.
And so it's like that's typically the transition you see. High-level assistant goes down to small school head coach to get their coaching career kicked off.
Exactly. He's man, I was reading his bio, and he has coached all over the state, starting his coaching career in Gainesville. He got his first head coaching gig in 2014 as he took over a Splendora program that had been struggling a little bit in the past. He led the Wildcats to their first 10-win season in school history. And after leading Splendora to back-to-back playoff wins, he took the head coaching job at Humble High School. And after being in the 6A ranks for a few years, Schultz decides to take the Ponder head coaching job, which, like we said, is a 3A in the 3A classification. Which I think he's a Sanger native. And I'm almost positive they are near each other.
Yeah,
like they're up north.
Sanger
knew
is
that,
north
but
of Denton.
Sanger and Ponder are near each other. So I'm sure a lot of that move had to do with he wanted to be back home. And
I haven't talked to Coach personally. He is a friend of the program. I haven't talked to Coach personally, but yes, that's exactly what it is. Being able to have the opportunity to move back home, and I think that if you've ever met Coach Schultz, as much as he was going to be a great fit down there in Humble, and he's going to be a great fit anywhere he goes, I also do think that he is a guy that likes the one horse town. You know, he's a real big family guy. You know, being able to move up here, welcome back home, because that's what all the buzz was about on social media when they got announced. It was welcome back home, Coach, welcome back home. You know, you're right there. His kids are grown and graduated now, so I think that getting back up home by the grandparents is a big thing. But I think that there's a lot to be said of just like he did in Splendora, which is a one-horse town, and being able to get everybody to buy in to really have success. This is a Ponder program that I think that being up here in the DFW area, I think he can really get something out of that. But I think he's a one-horse town kind of guy, and I think that
they just prefer the smaller classification schools. I mean,
his daughter's graduated. His son's still and that's the other thing. His son Cal is still fairly young, and so they might be looking for a move up to a smaller town for him to go and you know be able to graduate there and live the smaller town life.
Yeah. Totally understand, but those are kind of
Cal's our guy. We need to have Cal on the show.
Yeah.
I want to because Coach would be very jealous if we got Cal on the show before he got on the show.
Schultz has never been on the show?
Not Women Talking Football.
That would make sense. Because I was like, I think I've seen him on TFT before.
Yeah,
yes, WTF.
But we should bring Cal in.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, there you go. There's some crazy cool coaching changes that we wanted to get you caught up on. If you want to read more about those changes, every one of those there is an article on TexasFootball.com. The first two are under the college tab, and the last four are under the high school tab. So please go and check those out.
Yeah, Step has his hub page too. If you need to search for any of the coaches, sponsored by the helpful North Texas Honda dealers.
Correct. There's a lot more coaching changes that we just didn't get to, but we picked a couple out that we thought were kind of cool.
Yeah,
so,
all those have like cool
backstory. That's why we picked them out, is because they all had kind of a crazy cool backstory. So there's a lot more that we just didn't get the chance to mention. So please go check all of those out on TexasFootball.com. Well, do you want to talk a little bit about the Final Four since you got to MC it, or you just want to be done?
Yeah, we can mention it. We'll go until we got 4 minutes. We'll go until 12:40. That way we end on a round number. Right. It was. Like it. Yeah, it was. It was awesome. It was very, very cool to get to do that. That is by far the coolest live sporting thing I've ever been at. The loudness of the arena was insane. Yeah. And to see the Iowa-South Carolina game in particular,
so
just as great as the LSU's the national championship, LSU played an unbelievable basketball game. That was fun. Really fun to watch. But obviously seeing a team that had gone 42 straight wins in South Carolina, they had not lost since March 6th of the previous year in the SEC tournament. Like, they didn't even lose a regular season game that year. So to see that alone just be taken down by anybody. It could have been LSU. It could have been Virginia Tech. It could have been Iowa, which it was. That could have been anybody. To see that game and see that level of history come to a halt to get to the national championship game was crazy. But
I'm sure.
You went viral.
Yeah, we don't talk about that, though.
Super viral. She tweeted out after the South Carolina-Iowa game that Caitlin Clark had more postseason points than all of Iowa football, and that took off.
Yeah, I was a little shocked by that.
Did you just like close Twitter and then open it and it went crazy?
Yeah, so here's kind of the backstory of that.
Actually, I haven't asked you.
Yeah, I was watching the game at my boyfriend's house, and I had been watching Caitlin Clark all throughout the. I watched her a little bit in the Big Ten tournament, and then I watched her, of course, a lot
you're a
in
huge
the NCAA.
Big Ten
I'm Big Ten gal,
yeah.
So it only makes sense from there. But I was watching her, and I think that she had just scored her 39th point in that game, and I was like, she's done that a lot.
Yeah,
she's put up a lot of points in a lot of different games.
That was the first time that anyone, male or female, has gone back-to-back 40-point games in the postseason.
Right, which is. Yeah, there has not been a man that's done that in the NCAA tournament. But I had opened Twitter and I saw a tweet that said this might be like the most successful that Iowa has been in any sport in a very long time. And then I was like, oh yeah, their football team isn't great.
Yeah,
their defense is fantastic. The offense, there are some issues there.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wonder how many points that they put up all season.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna compare that to how many points Caitlin Clark actually had. At first, it was just the NCAA tournament. Then I was like, I'm going to include the entire postseason, like all of March.
Yeah.
And then sure enough.
It was more.
It was more in that moment.
So you tweeted that out, and then what went on from there? Like, did your phone buzz?
So I tweeted that out, and I had seen one of my friends, like, responded to it, and she said, oh, she's incredible, and I had liked that, and I closed my phone for a minute. And then all of a sudden, my phone, I had my Twitter notifications on. And then all of a sudden, it just starts buzzing. And I was like, oh, God, what's going on? And I look at it, and like 2 minutes into me tweeting it, I had like 800 likes. And I was like, oh, boy, something's weird. Something is odd. And so, yeah, it ended up blowing out of the water, and it was pretty cool to see that everywhere. So
yeah, I was fixing to say that was the coolest part, is that everyone gave you credit for it. Like,
yeah, ESPN made a graphic about it and put it on their Instagram.
That's
which was
what
wild.
I was most excited about, was not that just like someone else tweeted it, like like a Woj picked it up or something and tweeted it, or like Rebecca Lobo or something, something like that. It's like I was scared that someone, and I'm going to be honest, I hadn't been on my phone at all, really. Like, I would jump on real fast and like tweet something occasionally, and then I was working. And then I got home about right around midnight, and I had to go straight to sleep because I had to be back up at the American Airlines Center at 9 o'clock that next morning, which means you really have to get there at 8:30 because of parking and all that stuff. So it was like, okay, I laid down and I didn't even get on Twitter by the time, and then I fell asleep, got like 4 hours of sleep because I had to wake up and do hair and makeup and all that stuff. And then the next day I'm sitting there, and my family, we're going to go past 12:40. My family had, they came for the D2 and D3 women's basketball championship.
Which is awesome, by the way.
So cool that they decided to host it at the same venue.
Insane.
So I found out they did it once before in 2016, but it was in the same city, not the same venue. So Atlanta.
That doesn't make sense either. But
it's kind of cool because it was like they did it in Atlanta, and there's like multiple arenas in Atlanta that you can do that at. So like with the men's, that would be perfect in Atlanta, or even this year in Houston, the men could have done that because the D2 and D3 could have played in like Toyota, which is the Rockets arena, and they played the D1 in NRG. So it could work. But this was the first time they had ever done it in like the exact same venue. So tickets to the D2 and D3 were really cheap. My parents were in town for something else. They couldn't come Friday, and they weren't going to pay $400 to get in on Saturday.
I wish I could have gone.
I know, kidding.
Very expensive.
But they came in, and my dad was like, yeah, Mallory had a good tweet last night. And I was like, oh, was it funny? Like, he was like, no, it went viral. And I was like, okay, I don't know what LP's level of viral is. Is that 10,000 likes? Know, like sometimes
is that 100? Right.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's see. And then I was like, oh, he's like, yeah, it was a Caitlin Clark stat, and she looked it up and stuff. And so I got on Twitter literally during the game, and I went, 3.4 million views, LP. Okay, you know, like your level of viral is also what we would consider. And so it was funny. I had not seen it because I'd been so stinking busy. And then I got on Facebook and I saw your mom post the picture of ESPN thing, as a proud mom would do.
Correct.
And I looked and I was like, oh my God, this thing and then I started scrolling through your thing and I was like, let's go. WTF representing in the basketball world.
Man, we were well represented in the basketball world. Well, and it just made sense too, because I felt like I dogged on Iowa football all year as a joke. And then I was like, I'll do it once more while still hyping up Caitlin Clark. So
what if I just sprinkled a little more Iowa football hate in there?
I just want to sprinkle a little bit more in there. But it made sense. And it's funny. One more point I'm going to make on this. Somebody told me, they were like, it's funny that you just kind of thought of that because that's just how your brain works.
Yes.
Like you just think about the Big Ten like that. And I was like, yeah, it just came to my mind. Because I think about stuff like that. And so I was like, I'm just going to put my thoughts on Twitter. Then,
I need to edit the sicko graphic with your face on it and put like Big
Sicko's
Ten.
committee picked it up. Did you see that?
Let's
that was pretty cool. But anyways, that was really big weekend, I guess, for both of us. You obviously accomplished more than I did, but I mean, I think it's
not on a national stage, my friend.
Whatever.
It was fun.
It was
cool. I'm actually, I think, in like a slight state of depression that basketball is over.
Oh, I agree.
This was the best basketball season ever. I mean, you and I played a lot bigger. Like we got to. You and I got to pay attention to high school basketball a lot more this year from the college basketball side of stuff. Like the tournament was incredibly fun, men's and women's this year. It was cool. But shout out to everybody who tuned into that women's games because it shattered records.
Oh my gosh.
We broke the all-time attendance record for a Final Four tournament for a women's thing. And then there were more viewers for the women's of all time. They set a TV record for it too.
That's insane.
So that 9.9 million. That's crazy.
I'm super juiced up about that. Yeah, that's the term I was looking for. Also crazy stat that I saw was that the cheapest ticket for the UConn San Diego State game was like $50. Mm-hmm. The cheapest one that I saw for LSU and Iowa was like in the 400s.
Yep.
Yeah. I was like,
just to even get in the door.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Let's keep that up.
Well, and the other thing, this will be the last thing I say, I promise, but the other thing that I thought was so unbelievably awesome that the NCAA did around the women's Final Four tournament was that every single person that was on camera or on a microphone was a female. ESPN had
I did realize that.
ESPN had one male on the thing, but like the entire ESPN desk crew was all women. They had Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi doing their show. Jamie was a lady who did the PA, and she was
that's cool,
unbelievable. So all the intros, all the in-game PA stuff was completely PA, and then they had Madison Hawk and I do the emceeing stuff. So every single person that was talking about it, that was doing it, Holly Rowe was on the sideline. That was really cool. I thought that was awesome that the women's basketball committee focused hard on that. They said we only want women doing this, and it was cool, you know?
Right.
It was very cool.
Yeah, that's such a cool experience. You'll seriously never forget that. No. I mean, that is a really stinking cool experience.
It was awesome.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.